Welcome to Dread Tales. I'll be your storytelling guide through a labyrinth of sci-fi and horror, where each story spirals into the depths of the unknown. We'll explore the dark corners of the human psyche, the uncharted territories of future dystopias, and the eerie what-ifs that keep you awake at night. Each tale is a journey with no safe return, with an often twisted ending. So sit back and prepare yourself for the unexpected. This is Dread Tales. In a remote village nestled deep within an impenetrable jungle, the villagers lived simple pastoral lives. The village was surrounded by dense vegetation and unknown dangers, isolated from the outside world. Their existence was contained within the boundaries of their village, and the jungle was all they knew. Those who chose to leave the village boundaries never returned, and were assumed to have succumbed to the dangers that surely lurked in the unknown areas. Generations ago, stories emerged of a possible exit point, a place where only the brave or the desperate ventured. This area boasted a treacherous gap known as the Great Pitfall. Only 10 villagers had ever made it across the deep pit and around the treacherous corner of trees. Their voices echoed back with tales of paradise and abundance. The voices of those who had crossed were tantalizingly close, yet always out of sight. They claimed the other side was a utopia, a place with fruit trees everywhere and never-ending rivers of clean water. But the details were always vague, and those who tried to follow often met their doom, falling into the abyss. Many had tried to cross the Great Pitfall by swinging across the only vine, but most were not strong enough to hurl themselves far enough to reach safety. Yet, the allure of the unknown continued to beckon the villagers. And the voices of those who were successful in their jump across the steep pitfall called out to those still within the village boundaries, promising great resources and luxuries. Geronimo Jr. was but a boy when his father, Geronimo Sr., became one of the 10 to successfully make the perilous leap. Geronimo Sr. was a revered figure in the village, known for his strength, courage, and unwavering resolve. Young Geronimo idolized his father, clinging to the hope that one day he would follow in his footsteps and reunite with his father. The day his father leapt across the Great Pitfall was seared into Geronimo Jr.'s memory. The village gathered at the edge of the abyss, holding their breath as Geronimo Sr. took his fateful jump. For a moment, he was airborne, a figure of pure determination. He grabbed the swinging vine with great strength and hurled himself around the corner. Then, he disappeared. The village waited in tense silence. Moments later, his voice called back, confirming he had reached the other side, speaking of a paradise filled with untold wonders. But with each passing year, the mystery deepened. The voices that called back were always encouraging, but never quite clear. Geronimo Jr. often heard his father's voice, filled with love and assurance, urging him to join him in the paradise beyond. This planted a seed in the young boy's heart, a longing to reunite with his father and experience the paradise he spoke of. As Geronimo Jr. grew, so did his resolve. He became obsessed with the idea of making the great leap, driven by the desire to see his father again and prove his own bravery. His mother and the other villagers often tried to dissuade him, recounting the many who had perished trying to cross. But their warnings only fueled his determination. Geronimo Jr. began a rigorous training regimen. Every day, he practiced jumping, climbing, and swinging from vines, emulating the leap his father had made. He studied the pitfall, analyzing every detail and planning his trajectory meticulously. His body became lean and strong, his mind sharp and focused. He consulted with the elders, seeking their wisdom on the best ways to approach the jump. Despite the villagers' skepticism, they couldn't help but admire his dedication. Secretly, some hoped he would succeed where so many had failed. They whispered about the courage of the Geronimo line, convinced that if anyone could make it, it would be him. day had finally arrived. Geronimo Jr. stood at the edge of the great pitfall, the same spot where his father had stood years ago. The entire village had gathered to witness his attempt, their faces a mix of hope and fear. His mother, tearful but supportive, gave him a final embrace, whispering a prayer for his safety. Taking a deep breath, Geronimo Jr. steeled himself. The voices from the other side seemed to call out more fervently today, his father's voice loud and clear among them, urging him to join the paradise beyond. With a determined cry, he launched himself into the air, reaching for the swinging vine. The world seemed to slow as he soared over the abyss, his fingers wrapping around the vine. He swung with precision, the wind rushing past his ears. The edge of the corner approached rapidly, and for a fleeting moment, he felt a surge of exhilaration. He was going to make it. He would finally see his father again. But as he rounded the corner, the truth revealed itself in a horrifying instant. Instead of a verdant paradise, he faced the gaping maw of a monstrous creature. Its eyes gleamed with a malevolent hunger, and before he could react, it lunged, consuming him whole. In the pitch-black belly of the beast, Geronimo Jr. found himself surrounded by the echoes of the past. The voices he had once believed to be his father and the other successful jumpers were revealed as nothing more than cruel mimicry. The monster, a cunning predator, had perfected its ability to lure the villagers with false promises. Geronimo's heart sank as he realized the extent of the deception. The paradise was a lie, a trap designed to lure the brave and the hopeful to their doom. The monster, ancient and insatiable, had been feeding on the villagers for generations, using the voices of those consumed to ensnare its next victims. Each devoured soul added to its arsenal of voices, enhancing its ability to deceive. The creature's interior was a grotesque labyrinth of partially digested remains and despairing whispers. Geronimo Jr. felt the full weight of his mistake, but it was too late. He could feel the monster beginning to absorb his consciousness, preparing to add his voice to its chorus. His final thoughts were of his mother and the village, hoping they would one Back in the village, the people waited, holding their breath for a sign from Geronimo Jr. The silence stretched on, and just as hope began to wane, his voice echoed back from the other side. He spoke of lush landscapes, abundant food, and the warmth of his father's embrace. The villagers rejoiced, believing he had made it to the paradise, just like the others before him. Everyone cheered. It must be true. A great paradise awaits us across the great pitfall. The monster had achieved its goal of securing its next meal. It would wait, using Geronimo Jr.'s voice to lure the next brave soul. The cycle would continue, each new victim adding to the legend of the paradise, and the chorus of voices calling from beyond the pitfall. In the days that followed, the villagers celebrated Geronimo Jr.'s supposed success, their belief in the paradise renewed. Yet, a few skeptical whispers began to surface. An elder, watching the celebrations with a heavy heart, murmured to himself about the strange disappearances in the never-changing stories. But hope and belief were powerful, and the voices from beyond the pitfall continued to call, promising paradise. A young villager, inspired by Geronimo Jr.'s success, began his own training, filled with dreams of the paradise beyond. The cycle was set to repeat, the monster's hunger never to be sated, and the legend of the great pitfall to endure. Thanks for watching this episode of Dread End Tales. Give us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the story. We look forward to seeing you next time.